not only did this Trump appointed judge decide that Trump gets his special master, she went beyond that. And in a way that's drawing a lot of criticism from a lot of legal minds. So her ruling seemed to carve out a special exception to the normal legal process for Trump and rejects the Justice Department's implicit argument that Mr. Trump be treated like any other investigative subject. Now, they'd be pushing for that because he's just a regular guy right now, except for the fact that he's a politically connected billionaire. That's not supposed to matter, but it clearly, obviously does, historically and in this particular case. But he's not the president. He's not a candidate for any office. He is just a guy. And so it makes sense that if he commits crimes, he should be treated the same way that if you or I were to be if we did the same crimes. That apparently is not gonna happen, or at least she's implying that that should not be the way that things go. Her ruling also permitted whoever is appointed to the job of special master to evaluate the documents, not only for those protected by attorney-client privilege, which is apparently common in these sorts of cases, broader sorts of cases. Obviously, there's never been anything specifically like this, but also for those potentially shielded by executive privilege, which typically protects confidential internal executive branch deliberations. And that is potentially the most interesting part of this. I'm gonna describe why I think it is, but I wanna go to an actual legal mind first. Here is friend of the show, Ellie Mistal, explaining why that particular argument makes effectively no sense whatsoever.
Look, the argument that he has executive privilege is so what the scientists would call stupid, that it's difficult to explain it, right? Like the idea that, first of all, privilege goes to the current president. We only have one president at a time. So it's not Trump's privilege to have. Like if Trump's called for executive privilege over the plane and then parked the plane, Air Force One, at Mar-a-Lago. Can't do that. Even if it was his, we'd have the right to take it back.
Exactly, that's just not the way that it works at all. The DOJ, by the way, had preempted what this, again, Trump appointed judge had to say by pointing out that Joe Biden is the president. And also in terms of executive privilege, the DOJ, you'll find if you research this, is part of the executive branch of government. It's not even like this is a congressional panel investigating it or something like that. This is the executive trying to recover documents that are the property of the executive branch of the government. And so that argument doesn't make sense, but a case can be made, Ben, that it doesn't need to make sense. The idea is this is setting up for both the special master's purposes as well as if there is an appeal, which by the way, if there was appeal, it would be heard by a 3-judge panel from the US Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit in Atlanta. Of its 11 active judges, 6 were appointed by Mr. Trump. So there's a good chance that it would be either entirely or majority Trump appointed judges, even if they were to appeal, which they haven't said they would, that they should really go in with massive, I would say, irrational deference to Donald Trump. And so that's my fear going forward.
Yeah, I mean, that really seems to be like, I mean, that's just like obviously what's going on is this irrational deference to Donald Trump, because if any other person did this, I mean, like, come on. Like, let's imagine that Obama did this, right? Let's imagine that Obama is sitting around with like a bunch of like, like secret documents in his apartment or house or whatever right now. Like, are we joking? Like, you're telling me that like Fox News and like the media in general wouldn't be like screaming in the top of their lungs about it. But whenever it comes to Republicans, however, the kid gloves have to go on. We have to pretend to be like fair, but fair somehow always means giving like the benefit of the doubt, even when somebody has told you countless times that they are lying to you and they plan to continue to lie to you. And so like, it's just, I don't know, we're in this ridiculous situation because like ultimately like the executive privilege argument, I just think is so wild, arguing like whether or not Trump has executive privilege. It's just ridiculous because I mean, if we're talking about like months and months ago, if somebody said, hey, Trump, why are you bringing classified documents, back when you were the president to Mar-a-Lago? If you're the president, you can do whatever you want with classified information. That is, within your domain. But the very moment you're not the president of the United States, then all of a sudden that all goes away. And that's how it's supposed to work. But apparently we're just reinventing reality.
Yeah, 100%. And so clear. In a minute, we'll get to him just admitting that he did it again. But one of the things that makes the many chapters of this legal struggle over 5 years that we've been through so annoying is that it's not just that he commits the crimes. He then does the thing that historically has, for powerful people, been way easier to prosecute than the actual crimes, which is like the cover up. That's generally the thing they can get you for. He attempts to cover up and obstruct every single investigation, tampers with every witness, and that doesn't matter either. The fact that he clearly lied to those trying to find these documents over the course of the past year, thus far hasn't mattered. It didn't matter to this judge, and so that's incredibly frustrating too. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.